Star Wars Squadrons. I was excited for this because I loved the 90s games, X-Wing, TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, X-Wing Alliance. I loved them because they were action-packed, they were fast, but they had a simulation feel to them where you managed your engines, your lasers, your shields. And what that meant was, say you needed a little bit more speed, you dumped the power into the engines and you sacrificed your laser recharge capability or your shield capability, and you were constantly moving your shields from the front to the back to the center, and you were managing the targets and the big battle map, and there were a lot of things going on. There were fighters, there were things to escort and protect, there were bombers, there were capital ships, there were things coming in and out of hyperspace. Whereas the games on the GameCube, Rogue Squadron, and on the N64, they were fun, but they lost a lot of the simulation part, and then we just didn't really seem to get any more of these space dogfighting games at all, and until Battlefront was resurrected by EA and DICE. And again, the ship flying in those games felt very, very arcadey. So when EA announced that they were putting out another Star Wars flying game, I didn't have a lot of high hopes. Although, looking from some of the gameplay footage, I thought this could be interesting. And the power management looks good. Doesn't seem to be too much story as an emphasis. They put this game out. It was $20 cheaper in America. I think $40 American. I paid like $55 or $56 or something for it. And EA had said that this was going to be one of their sort of, not budget, it's not like a $20, $30 game, but they said that their games have a variety of scale and scope. And that most of their games have a very, very large scale and scope, but that this game, Squadrons, was going to be dialed down a bit. So I thought, where are they going to be cutting the corners? If all you're going to do is cut out drawn out cinematic cutscenes, or trying to make the game unnecessarily long with padded sections, or try to force like an open world concept or collectibles, if you're going to cut out all that crap that I find most of the time can be very redundant and bring down the fun per minute ratio of when I'm playing a game, or let's be honest, fun per hour, and you're still going to have what feels like in this game very, very tight, smooth, well-realized gameplay, please give us more of this. And the wonderful thing is that this game that I guess didn't cost them as much as their normal big-ass Battlefield 1 type games, this was one of the best-selling games of the month, or the week, or for whatever it was. It made the headlines that this game is selling very, very well. It's a Star Wars game. It's going to have that going for it. But these types of flying games have definitely gone by the wayside after their heyday in the 90s. So there must have been a reason. They must not have been selling. So, God, I hope that EA realizes that people want these kind of games that focus on gameplay, and you don't need to throw on all this other crap. However, there have been some pretty bad bugs. I've encountered maybe 3 times where I haven't been able to finish playing, where the end of a mission is trying to load. It'll just hang on a screen, or it'll just give me a blue screen crash. I'm on the PS4 Pro. And I've had to, close down the application multiple times and reload it. Luckily, because this is a more modern game, there are a lot of checkpoints in the game, so I haven't had to go back and redo, say there's a mission and there's about like 3 or 4 components of you having to, say, take on some fighters and then take on a capital ship and then take on some other ships warping in. I thought, oh no, I just got through this long mission and now I've had to exit out. And then one time when I was even coming back into the game, it said, your save files have been corrupt. We're going to overwrite them. I go, oh, that's great. But to my surprise, it actually returned to a checkpoint that was after all the fighting. It was really just you hop back into the mission, and it's at the point where they say, hey, we did it all. Let's go back to the ship. So it's like about 10 seconds of gameplay just finishing it up and warping back. So I don't know. If the crashes and the bugs are worrying, and I'm wondering, is that where you guys cut your corners? But so far, they haven't caused me to really replay, other than one moment, the first crash I had, and that was a little different. That was the only time where I had to replay a moment, and that was because I played the game without connecting my PS4 to the internet, and I didn't download the day one patch. And then when I did download the day one patch, because I thought this will probably fix the problem I'm stuck on, and then I tried to reload the save from before the patch, so that's probably why. Anyways, for my checklist for a game like this would be, can you just have the power management stuff or some kind of aspect of making it feel like a hybrid sim and hybrid arcade game from the 90s? They have all that. They also have what I loved about the Wing Commander games in the 90s, is that Wing Commander, while it didn't feel as good when you're flying around, they had a lot of personality with characters, with your wingmates. And while the characters in this one, they don't feel as good as the characters from Wing Commander 1 and 2, they definitely have more of like a Saturday morning cartoon vibe. It feels a lot more aimed at kids, and the characters are a bit more, especially the alien ones on the Rebel side, they're kind of a bit goofy, and there's one character on the Imperial side who always wears his flight suit, and he's like a Darth Vader type where the suit keeps him alive. Maybe if I was 12, I would have thought that was really cool stuff, but there's a lot of eye rolling going on so far. But that doesn't really matter. I don't care. The missions themselves are designed quite well. And what could be a big problem with a game like this is, how do you keep it interesting? How is it not just constantly... How do you have variety? Because this game, like many, is go into an area, shoot all the enemies, and then move on. But there have been actually... I've done maybe 4 missions or so, and they tend to all have a pretty interesting twist, whether you're taking out defenses, whether you're taking on sort of medium to capital size ships, whether you're... I won't spoil it, because there's actually some interesting moments right off the bat, right in the beginning part of the game, where I was actually pretty surprised, and I thought, these guys and girls are being very, very creative in how they're approaching this in ways that I don't remember doing in the original games, although my memory could be totally foggy on that. So I will applaud them on nailing what made the games in the 90s great, coming up with some actual very interesting gameplay, and also going back and seeing what other games from that time, like Wing Commander, that they could take from. And then you have all the modern fun stuff like checkpoints. They have a sort of like the Halo armor, where you have a cooldown and you can repair your hull. And there's 2 different, basically special abilities you have, and they're different missiles. There's a lot of cool customization in it. There's trade-offs where you can have an engine that's better at accelerating, or has better turning speed, or is more of an all-rounder. You have that with your lasers. You have that with your missiles. You have that with your countermeasures. You have that with your shields. There's all these different ways of playing and kind of manipulating the strengths and the weaknesses that I was really surprised by. That I thought, these actually feel pretty fair, and these feel pretty balanced, and could be another way to add a wrinkle to what in the worst case scenario could be a repetitive gameplay, where you're just going into the arena with a ship, you're shooting people. But this is a way to freshen it up. Also, being able to jump from the Rebels to the Imperials to keep telling that story and show both sides, but besides the story, just to get to fly different ships, have a different feel, give you a different look and sound, and just like a different environment. But also, when you've been flying X-Wings and A-Wings and stuff, it's nice to hop back into a TIE Fighter or a TIE Interceptor. I even played a bit of the multiplayer, and I don't play a lot of multiplayer games because I'm terrible, and I didn't do very well, but it felt pretty good. I was wondering how you were going to do this. I know that my friend Horky had said he saw a lot of people just kind of parking their butt, hiding behind some debris and shooting homing missiles. I'm not really a big fan of homing missiles in these kind of games, but I got some hits on some people. I don't think I killed anybody. I think I died a lot to this one person who was just destroying. But it looked like it worked pretty well. I didn't get to try out the multiplayer stuff where you have the multiple phases, but that looks pretty interesting. But yeah, really all I can speak on is a single player. And I would say that if you're looking for what made the flying games great in the 90s, it's here, mixed in with some great modern improvements for quality of life. It's cheaper than a full budget game, but the actual gameplay and the visuals in game there's nothing that would make me think this is not a full-on top-tier AAA game. I really highly recommend it. Thank you, EA. Can't believe I'm saying that.